In the top stories, ECCB warns of fake Bank of Nevis website. Brazil's street parties banned over COVID-19 concerns, and COVID hotel quarantine rules come into effect in the UK. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Monday, the 15th of February 2020. I'm Jason Davis. Nationally, the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank is warning of a fake website that's said to be providing cryptocurrency savings and fixed cryptocurrency accounts. In a press statement on its website, the ECCB noted, quote, "It has been brought to the attention of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank that a company by the name of Bank of Nevis, having an address 19 Reed Street, Hamilton, City of Hamilton, Bermuda, with a website address of www.bankofnevis.com, is purportedly providing cryptocurrency savings and fixed cryptocurrency accounts. The ECCB wishes to advise the public that this entity is not affiliated with the Bank of Nevis Limited, whose official website is www.thebankofnevis.com and is licensed and regulated by the ECCB. In a similar statement, the Bermuda Monetary Authority said it has been made aware of the fraudulent website which falsely uses the name of a real bank. It said, quote, "The authority wishes to advise the public that no license has been granted to the entity operating the website claiming to be the Bank of Nevis operating from Bermuda," end quote. The Bank of Nevis also released a statement saying that it is not affiliated with said bank. It said, quote, "This company has no relations with the Bank of Nevis Limited, a bank incorporated under the laws of Nevis with a banking license issued by the ECCB, whose official website is www.thebankofnevis.com. Customers who transact business with this entity will be doing so at their own risk," end quote. The Bank of Nevis has asked persons who are in doubt to visit their office at Bank of Nevis Building, Main Street, Charlestown, Nevis, or call 469-5564. The fire department is investigating the cause of a fire at an abandoned structure in Sadler's on Sunday night. According to Acting Fire Chief Garfield Hodge, at about 9 p.m., the Tabernacle Fire Unit responded to a house fire report. Upon arrival, the officers discovered that it was an abandoned wooden structure with a galvanized roof which was engulfed in flames. He said the officers managed to completely extinguish the flames, however, the structure was completely destroyed. The acting fire chief explained that the cause of the fire is still unknown, but an investigation was launched to determine the cause. No injuries were recorded. Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris says the government has plans to have over 70% of the population immunized against the COVID-19 virus. This was announced when the Prime Minister updated the nation on the effectiveness of his government's strategy to defeat COVID-19 in a national address aired on ZIZ on Saturday. The Prime Minister thanked the citizens and residents of the Federation for embracing the all-of-society approach and for their cooperation and compliance in the fight against COVID-19, and advised them that they have reached too far to give up now.
Many of you have paid a great price through loss of jobs and decreased income, but I assure you that there is light at the end of the tunnel. This is not the time for complacency, nor the time to succumb to COVID-19 fatigue. We started this fight together, and we must finish together. We will build back St. Kitts and Nevis together, stronger and better.
St. Kitts and Nevis is a signatory to the COVID-19 Vaccines Global Access, or COVAX, which ensures vaccination of 20% of the population. COVAX is a global initiative aimed at equitable access to COVID-19 vaccines led by the Global Alliance for Vaccines and Immunization, the World Health Organization, and Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovation, among others. Regionally, with nearly 240,000 deaths from COVID-19, Brazil will not be holding its annual Rio Carnival, which attracts millions of tourists from around the world. But some Brazilians are still trying to keep the spirit of celebration alive. Al Jazeera's Monica Yanikov reports.
The bright orange jumper, the long wooden legs, the rhythm. Anilson Costa has it all and nobody to dance with.
Total apoio a esse cancelamento do Carnaval.
I'm totally in favor of the government's decision to cancel Carnival. Mass gatherings in a pandemic are deadly, but I found a safe way to spread joy during these gloomy times.
It just takes a lonely morning walk in a socially distant costume to do the job. Anilso hands out flowers in the hilltop neighborhood of Santa Teresa, a favorite among tourists.
In normal times, I would never be able to be walking in the middle of this street with this silence at this time of the year. It would be packed with people dancing, dressed up, but this is a completely different carnival.
This was the same neighborhood last year, and the famous samba parade, with tens of thousands of tourists celebrating, just as the pandemic was hitting Brazil. It's since claimed almost 240,000 lives. And this is Rio's Sambadrome now. No revelers, just doctors and nurses vaccinating the elderly in the Brazilian city with the largest COVID-19 death toll. The coronavirus has also dealt a punishing blow to Brazil's economy. Carnival would have made a difference had it not been canceled. Last year's brought in hundreds of millions of dollars, and it would have created more than 35,000 temporary jobs at a time when unemployment is at a record 14% high.
120 pessoas trabalhando, girando.
There are up to 120 people working for a samba school, producing everything for Carnival. And on the day of the parade, you have other jobs, such as float pushers, security, and even more people. So we have 300 to 350 people on the ground.
Evaldo Souza sells corn cobs on the beach, 10 times less this year than last year.
Locals don't buy as much as tourists. My customers are mostly foreigners, but with no carnival, there are almost none.
Meanwhile, in Santa Teresa, the stilt man is keeping what's left of the carnival spirit alive, reaching out to those who are locked up at home, still waiting for the vaccine to open the door. Monica Yanakiv, Al Jazeera, Rio de Janeiro.
While there's been much speculation surrounding the coronavirus vaccine, one health official in Jamaica sought to provide clarity at a Ministry of Health weekly media briefing. More in this report. We apologize for being unable to bring you that report. We now move on to international news. Passengers arriving in the UK from 33 high-risk countries will now have to quarantine in a hotel for 10 days. The government says it is to help prevent the spread of highly contagious variants of COVID-19. But the policy, which came into force on Monday, is attracting criticism for the way it has been organized. A spokesman for London's Heathrow Airport warned of significant gaps in the implementation plan. Al Jazeera's Paul Brennan reports.
In aviation terms, the UK's hotel quarantine plan has been on final approach for nearly 3 weeks now, and it was first announced back in mid-January. 10 days and 11 nights of enforced hotel quarantine now await anyone who has passed through one of the 33 countries on the government's red list. But London's Heathrow Airport said it had yet to receive what it called necessary reassurances. An airport spokesman warned of significant gaps in the implementation of the plan, and the union, representing some of the security staff, is equally concerned about the transfer process from airport to hotel.
What does that process look like? What PPE is going to be available for those workers? What is expected of those guards once they get to the hotels? Now, you have to bear in mind that these travellers, they're not in custody.
The UK government says its hotel quarantine plan amounts to decisive action against COVID-19. But even as the first arriving passengers go into enforced confinement, there is strong criticism of the way the policy is being operated and enforced. Inbound passengers need to show a negative test just to board an aircraft and pre-book 2 further tests for the days after arrival. Lying on a passenger locator form now carries a 10-year prison sentence. Ministers have spent the past week talking up the plan.
We have amongst the toughest border regimes anywhere in the world.
But doubts persist. Australian states introduced hotel quarantine in March 2020 and have learned tough lessons since then. Procedures on meal delivery times, ventilation, staff testing and protective masks have all evolved significantly. Yet the state of Victoria is now back under lockdown after an outbreak of the virus spread within this quarantine hotel. Australian infection experts say the UK needs to be ultra cautious.
I'm nervous about what I know about the UK system. It's good to know that smokers will not be allowed to leave their rooms, but they're still allowed to leave their rooms for exercise. We learned very much the hard way that that just doesn't work.
The government says its policies are based on best practice. That may not be good enough. Paul Brennan, Al Jazeera, Heathrow Airport.
The polls have closed in Kosovo's parliamentary elections. An anti-establishment party is expected to win the most seats, and its leader has already ruled out talks with Serbia, a country Kosovo broke away from after a year-long war in the late 1990s. More in this report.
Kosovo's former prime minister and the frontrunner in Sunday's elections cast his ballot early in the day with this message.
Today, citizens of Kosovo are exercising their right to vote. Hopes are high, a lot of challenges ahead, but we are hopeful that we are going to have a high turnout and a great result for democracy, for state building and for future development and progress.
Albin Kurti has promised to rebuild Kosovo and its institutions. Kosovo is struggling to gain international recognition since its declaration of independence from Serbia 13 years ago. It is one of the poorest regions in Europe and has been struggling economically for decades. 1 in 3 people are unemployed and the average person earns about $11 a day. Kosovo's 1.8 million voters will choose 120 legislators from among 1,000 candidates. Kurti's main opponent is a Prime Minister Abdullah Hoti from the centre-right Kosovo Democratic League. In his short time in the office, Hoti has struggled with the coronavirus pandemic, with numbers increasing particularly in recent weeks. Despite the continued spread of the virus, many of the candidates contesting Sunday's polls have failed to adhere to social distancing measures, and there are fears a high turnout could spread the virus even more. Nevertheless, the message from both Albin Kurti, whose former activist and dissident, and Abdullah Hoti, whose party has dominated the political scene for many years, was for people to turn up and vote.
I'm calling on all the citizens that have the right to vote to use this right and to vote. Today is their day. Today they will express their free will.
90% of Kosovars are ethnic Albanians, and since the region declared its independence, there have been US and EU brokered attempts to mediate between Kosovo and Serbia. Those have failed, and if Kurti wins, analysts predict that hopes of reaching a settlement could further diminish. But relations with Serbia and potential membership in Western bodies and organizations like NATO and the European Union have not featured highly on the agenda during the campaign. Instead, the focus has been mainly on the economy. The main challenge for whoever wins these elections will be to regain the people's trust in the government and its institutions. And to do that, it would seem the new leader will have to find a solution to Kosovo's economic problems. Ognjen Zorić, Al Jazeera, Pristina.
And now for the weather. Present weather shows fair skies with a moderate breeze of 17 miles per hour from an easterly direction. The temperature for today is 28 degrees Celsius or 82 degrees Fahrenheit. Seas are moderate with waves of up to 6 to 9 feet. Small craft advisory is in effect with northeasterly swells reaching 1.5 meters or 5 feet. Therefore, small craft and high surf advisories are in effect. The weather today will be partly sunny with a 40% or moderate chance of brief afternoon showers, and for tonight, fair to partly cloudy with a 10% or slight chance of showers. Sunset today will be at 6:13 p.m., sunrise tomorrow at 6:36 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Jason Davis.